Welcome to Night Shift. Welcome back once again. It's starting to feel like the fall, isn't it, Kyle Nash? Jeff, Sharon, and Kyle Nash is student of the game with you here. It's just the two of us today. It's summer camp time, which means it's 1v1s, right?
I mean, just like this pod, it's closer to football. People are actually hearing you do the intro there. This is very exciting stuff, just Sharon. I love every minute of it.
I'm just saying, in a 1v1 matchup between you and me, low man wins, which means I have an advantage. So
your back would hurt when we were done.
My back would hurt, and we got a lot. Yeah.
Oh, that was an accident. My bad.
That was yeah. So
anyways, continue.
So our topic for today is going to be previewing UCF's position groups all the way down. And this one will be pretty short. But before we get to that, Kyle Nash, I wanted to inform all the people out there that, as you may already know, we have ourselves a new Black and Gold Banneret website. Check it out, man. Check if you're listening in the car, this does you no good. But if you're watching on YouTube,
I'm about to say, if you're listening in the car, it gives us a great opportunity to provide the Bing for the YouTube channel. That's what
yes. So recently redesigned site. Thanks to the folks at the mothership, SB Nation, for putting this all together. Much cleaner, right? Fewer ads, better user experience overall. And we have this new feature over here called the feed. And we're going to kind of use this from now on as our place to deposit UCF news that we're not writing full-blown posts about. So right now I've got some highlights from RJ Harvey's preseason debut against the Denver Broncos against your San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Nash.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Posting some of the stuff that we have up here. A little interview with Miles Montgomery, which we'll talk about. Preseason polls for volleyball and soccer. Just, those kinds of things that, instead of posting all this stuff like in 58 different places that none of you got, only some of you guys even go to, just go to the feed. All right. Lock it there. We got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to have a lot more stuff coming when we go to when the season starts. We're going to be live blogging games up top right here on Black and Gold Banneret as usual. I like what we've done here. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot easier for us to use, I think. And it's going to be a much more streamlined experience for those of you who come to us for UCF content from all sports. And so check it out. Take it for a spin. See what you think. What do you think, Kyle?
Listen, crisp, clean timeline action for your UCF fanhood all in one place.
Yeah.
Efficient. Boom.
I'm in on that. All right. Which takes us to the article that we currently have up there on blackandgoldbanneret.com. There we go, Kyle. I finally got it back. We're doing UCF position previews all this week. You, me, and Don Strouble, who, happy birthday to Don.
Donnie Docs, happy birthday.
Are doing some work on this. And then next week, we're going to kind of dive into like our annual tradition unlike any other, Kyle Nash.
Yes.
The 5 biggest questions heading into UCF's 2025 football season. But one of those questions, I imagine, is going to be the thing that I wrote about up top, and that is at the quarterback position.
Right.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of each of us give like our storyline at each of these position groups as of right now. Remember, no depth chart has been released just yet. If you listen to Scott Frost, his media availability, which you have on our YouTube channel, KnightShift UCF on YouTube. See, I can do this too, Kyle. See.
You're getting there. No, I'm proud. I'm proud.
You should be proud of me. I think Scott Frost kind of went out of his way to find the good things that he noticed from the scrimmage. Sometimes, when you see a coach, you kind of like read between the lines and you're like, oh, okay. But there's still plenty of time between now and the opener on the 28th against Jacksonville State. So let's start with the quarterbacks, Kyle, because to me, the big storyline here is you have these three guys in three different positions, in three different sort of parts of their career competing for the one job.
Yes.
And we don't know which one of them is going to get the nod or even which one is going to end up keeping the nod. It's not unlike what we saw 8 years ago in Scott Frost's first year here. Remember remember the whole Justin Holman v. Mackenzie Milton. I think, gosh, I forget who was also back there at that time. We were thinking like, oh, maybe they'll be a quarterback too. But you have the incumbent, Jakari Brown, who was UCF's second leading rusher last year, struggled in the pass game. Mm-hmm. All right. You have the newcomer vet in Cam Fancher, who's played 4 years at Marshall and FAU. And that's both, the good point and the bad point. Lefty, mobile. And then you have Taven Jackson, who is young, comes in with a lot of promise initially in the SEC, and then got some run at Indiana last year. And we know how good Indiana was, although he wasn't the real reason for that. But he kind of feels like the future guy somehow.
Yeah, he's the development piece for sure.
Yeah, and so to me, it's just a question of which one of these guys kind of grabs the bull by the horns. And I think right now, if you were to handicap which one is probably going to get the starting nod, I think it's probably 33.3% right now for each of them.
Right.
I really can't tell. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't have to think it. Frost has told us he's waiting for somebody to take it by the horns. And this is where I'm going to actually echo a wee bit the point made last week by Eric Lopez. I know. I agreed with something Elo said. This can happen. But he
breaking news, Kyle Nash.
Well played. But he likened it to my call on why John Rice Plumlee got the start over Mikey Keene those years ago, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be dependent on what the O-line does and how confident you are in them. If you need a dude that can run for his life and maybe occasionally throw on the run like that, Jakari is going to have a better edge than if this O-line is stout and you actually get some pocket work, right? Then, Fancher would be the top guy in that instance. And then Taven Jackson's that wild card who could do a bit of vote. So if the line's kind of okay, or, Frost isn't really sure what he has and all that, then he would kind of have the edge there. I think the offensive line development in camp under Sean Clark, previous head coach of Appalachian State as well, who recognized me from my covering him at said ridiculously rainy bounce house Cure Bowl. But I think that's where it sits. I think Elo's right that those things are tied in as well, just as much as what you're saying. Whoever grabs the bull by the horns, I agree, or the opportunity to earn the advantage is there. But if none of them do, the O-line's going to have that final vote in that way.
Yeah, we'll get to the O-line in a second. But that dovetails us into the other side, which is going to be the running game. And I want to talk about the running backs, because to me, the big story at the running back position is Miles Montgomery.
Right.
He is very clearly been put out front as the workhorse in much, I think, a very similar way to how RJ Harvey was. And we saw a lot of good things from Miles last year. He's not quite the same kind of back that RJ is. No. But he can carry the load. What can you tell us about Miles and like what you think we should really expect from him?
Versatility, right? Miles looks more like a Scott Frost running back than a lot of the running backs we've seen lately. Facts of the case, right? Now, granted, he's not a track star like Adrian Killens or the late Curtis Anderson, but he does give me hints of a smaller McCray, not McCray. No, it is, Greg McCray.
Yeah, Greg McCray.
In my head, I had a Y instead of an E. That's where it went wrong. But the punchline's this: he's a smaller version of that, can get things out of the backfield and can run between the tackles. If UCF, though, is a more hard running style, if they are looking for more of a Taj McGowan type runner and go that direction, see, I'm keeping it to the previous Frost class. That's where the Jalen Nixon talk comes in. And I think he'll get a good mix of shares as well. Not to say that Miles Montgomery can't protect on third down, but maybe Nixon's bigger size can help with that. And listen, I've liked Miles since he was a Ute, not a Utah Ute, but a youth at as a Bearcat in Cincinnati. And I was very happy to hear him come to UCF in the first place in the Malzahn system. Unfortunately, he got buried under an NFLer in RJ Harvey through no fault of his own, for sure.
There's no shame in that. By the way, Greg McCrae, 5'10", 175. Miles Montgomery, 5'11", 205.
Oh, I stand corrected. But a little leaner, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, whereas, like, Greg McCrae's a little bit more of a bowling ball compared to Miles, is what I'm saying.
I based on, from what I saw last year, I thought, Miles is going to be fantastic. I think he's going to be just fine.
Absolutely.
Incredibly entertaining to talk to, by the way.
For sure.
Yeah, he just exudes like, okay, that guy. Yes. Yeah.
Maybe you should start
hitch the wagon to him.
one day. Let's see
cool.
what happens.
Which, by the way, they're already doing. But let us not forget Jaden Nixon.
Right.
Okay. A guy who played at Oklahoma State in the Big 12, detoured to Western Michigan. That dude is fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we talked about, Greg McCrae. We remember how fast he was, right? Well, Jaden Nixon's the exact same size. 5'10", 185, redshirt senior. He's got experience. You in the running back preview that Don Strouble did, which we will be publishing on Tuesday on blackandgoldbanner.com. Preseason Big 12 second team for Phil Steele from Phil Steele. Paul Horning Award watch lister, Doak Walker Award watch lister, Maxwell Award watch lister for this preseason.
Mm-hmm.
All MAC first team last year at Western Michigan. I feel like this dude's flying under the radar still, even with all that.
Well, and there's talk that he might even steal some starting reps from Miles, depending on how things go. And I think it'll depend on the team they're playing against. But listen, the continuation of great running back cores continues at UCF. That's all I can say.
Let's fly over to the receivers real quick, because this is one of the spots where I think there's the most question marks.
Mm-hmm.
For all the criticism that Gus Malzahn got, man, he there were some serious receivers that he brought in here.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a few of them playing in the league where they play for pay right now. But right now, it looks like there's some serious development that has to happen. You have been diving in on the receivers. What's the big story coming out of these guys?
So, and this is something that even caught me too. The whole fact that none of them have caught a pass last year in a black and gold uniform. If you hadn't heard it by now, Knight Nation, it's certainly become a platitude within that group, within this group, this community, whether you like it or not. But what I find fascinating, and this is a rabbit hole you got me going down talking to you, just, on the outside looking over it, you had mentioned, interestingly, that the last time that UCF had averaged less than 200 passing yards a game, which they did last year in 24, was 2015. Also, through happenstance, perhaps, the year before a Frost regime began. And there's a lot of interesting similarities that I'm not going to give away that you'll have to read about on the blackandgoldbanner.com. But
sorry,
it's okay. I snuck it on you. But for all the UCF air quotes specific experience that this receiver core doesn't have, it's not like you're playing a bunch of kids out here, right? The youngest of the three starters named, which is Marcus Burke, Dwayne Thomas Jr., and DJ Black. I believe it's I might get this. No, I won't. It's Dwayne's junior year where the other two are either a redshirt senior, redshirt junior.
Mm-hmm,
so these kids have played plenty of football. I say kids, I shouldn't. It's because I'm old. But it's not like they haven't played ball. It's not like they don't have a ton of speed, which was both things that Scott Frost and his previous regime took care of in 2016, which, Jeff, even though everybody remembers it as a losing season and Mackenzie Milton getting booed off the field in the Cure Bowl, it was still a 6-game improvement despite all that.
Oh, remember how thrilled we were with that?
How thrilled you should have been.
After 0-12?
I mean, I'm just saying. And then, of course, the other thing that's interesting is a lot of that development in that 2016 season was getting the ground game back. Well, Scott Frost goes in having that already, which makes it very interesting rebuilding the receiver core.
I see a lot of young dudes on this receiving core that are really interesting to me, and a lot of them have that redshirt freshman tag on them. Okay,
yeah, even while missing Day Farmer, by the way.
Right, Jordan Bridgewater, all right, out of West Orange High School. Bredell Richardson out of Tampa, Carrollwood Day. Caleb Rollerson.
I'm about to say, you better mention Rollerson.
Who, I believe it or not, I was like Marlon Williams was saying on X that he was really impressed with him.
Made a very Marlon Williams-esque catch in the scrimmage.
Yeah. You have a couple other guys like Carl Jenkins Jr. A few veterans here and there mixed in. By the way, there's 2 Hinshaws out there, which I think is actually awesome. Yeah. And then on the tight end side, Kylan Fox, big 6'4" target to throw to. Thomas Wadsworth, who's just a blocking machine. And don't forget, okay, this is interesting. You UCF basketball fans out there. Debo Coleman is coming out as a tight end. Now, I love me some basketball tight ends. Antonio Gates.
I was about to say.
Tony Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know if you remember what we remember, former Mercer Bear, who played briefly for the Denver Broncos, Wesley Duke, actually played against us in the A-Sun, became a tight end and caught I think a touchdown in 2005 for the Denver Broncos, which I thought was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. Well, Debo, okay, need we remind you, Debo is 6'6". That's a big target to throw to.
That is a big target.
So that's
he's George Aikens' role, if you will.
Yeah, that's 6'6", 210. I don't mind. I try covering that down the seam. See how that works out for you.
I dare you. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Colin Fox is clearly, I think, going to be like the main guy here, 6'4", 229 out of Valdosta. But there's a lot of options out there. But some, kind of like, with the quarterback situation, someone's going to have to emerge.
Right? Yeah, and you mentioned Fox, Kalubi-Ali. Michael Kalubi-Ali comes to mind in terms of that frame.
Yes,
there you go.
Let's talk about your boys, Kyle, the old line.
Brief.
This is the part where I think it all comes down to these guys, right? And all the experience that we had last year. All right, team that was 5th in the country in rushing. Mm-hmm. RJ Harvey had the second best single season rushing total in the history of the school, behind only Kevin Smith getting 2,500 yards in 1 year, like challenging Barry Sanders. Okay, so just put that outlier out there.
Right? No SEC teams on that schedule, by the way, but go ahead.
Don't care. You have a grand total of 13 starts at UCF between all of the offensive linemen, and 12 of them belong to Paul Rubelt. He was the only returning regular starter from last year. Mm-hmm. Now, there's plenty of beef out here. There's a lot of transfers that have come in. There's a lot of guys who've been in the pipeline who are going to get their shot. But still question marks, right?
Well, and I hear that question marks piece, and you're right to ask the question. And we got to remember, all these transfers, dudes. New coaches are going to have a butt ton of transfers. That is life in the NCAA right now until
old coaches are going to have a bunch of transfers.
Your point is only exacerbating mine, sir. Exactly. The only thing that has more transfers in it is a new coach roster. There you go. Right. That's the only thing. What is it? The real recruiting is keeping players now, not getting new ones. Right. All that being said, for me, the positive to all this, yes, there is a positive to all this. A Malzahn set of linemen will not have the same skill sets as a Frost set of linemen.
100% true.
Okay. I don't see guys like we were here last year and some that went to FSU doing Frost level stuff. And I'm not knocking them for moving. Stick with the scheme that made you look good. It's always going to be great to have a 1,600-yard rusher on your resume when you're trying to get to the league. Cool. Frost is trying to get a new ledger of guys that's going to have rebuilding a Big 12 power school on their resume. And I think it's a win-win for either group of guys.
All right. Who among those newcomers kind of stands out to you?
Oh, man. And see, the tough part about this is I haven't had a lot of opportunity to see these dudes in pads. So, like, I'm going to be all like, this guy. And I could be... listen, even with my Aaron Evans original painting behind me, showing my devotion to the lineman troop, and my props to both Herb Hand and of course Coach Sean Clark as well. For me, it's seeing young man compete at center, right, Jeff? We were told for certain it was the incumbent who would win, and we're not seeing that. Hey, of course, you talk about this in your piece, I'm sure.
Yeah. I got that coming up on blackandgoldbanner.com later this week. I want to flip to the other side and let's talk about the defense. You got your edge rushers, you got your big fellas inside. You talked about beef. Now there's some beef on the interior.
Accurate.
Okay. I'm looking at Tyreek Robinson, 340 pounds. I got Horace Lockett out here, who's 6'6", 355.
His thighs are so big.
Glad you said it. Now, when
another lineman says it doesn't mean anything. It's just that the fact the dude's huge. Period.
Right. It's just a true statement, right? Keyshawn Hudson, who is from Dillard and Fort Lauderdale, he's 6'1", 323, redshirt junior. John, I think the story here is John Walker's back,
of course,
and that is going to be. And you want to talk about the anchor? He's the anchor. We lost him due to injury last year. I think that really hurt the defense.
Not as bad as some other places, but obviously it's nice when you have the insurance policy, and I'll put that in air quotes, of having Ricky Barber and Lee Hunter as your starters. That's a thing.
I know, but he was playing up. But John could have played the outside last year and provided a little bit more pass rush than I think we ended up getting. Right.
Perhaps. Let's just say there's something to be said for moving him around, perhaps.
Right. I think the strength on the front is the edge rushers. This is where the most experience kind of comes back. Malachi Lawrence is back. All right. Jamal Johnson's back. Isaiah Nixon is back. Nigel Kelly is back. 6'5", 250. And he's by the way, is the only preseason Big 12 pick on the defense from PFF. You got a couple other guys who are itching to make their presence known. Sincere Edwards and Josh Dorsonville comes over from I believe it's Savannah State. Yep. And I think that these guys, this is the part where it's like, I think if we're set in one particular position, it's the edge rushers, right?
Well, and I'm not here to say they're bad off. I think these newer guys at the defensive tackle spot are getting overlooked. I'm more excited about some of these thick bodies that are coming in that may just have a little bit more stamina in the tank than a dude like Lee Hunter did. And not to say he didn't get better and develop it. There's a reason why he earned $1.9 million to go to Texas Tech with oil money. But while we're observing, Jeff, the edge positions and the defensive ends proper here, I think the defensive tackles keep a level of reliability that make the line in its entirety stout potentially, rather than just being huge in the middle and being susceptible to outside runs as they were early last year before they moved Dotson around to his appropriate spot to be a third rotation man in the defensive tackle piece in lieu of Walker.
Fair. All right. Now, those big fellas in front, one of their main jobs is to clear out the mess and allow the linebackers to make tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Again, some key guys coming back. Cam Moore is back as a redshirt junior. You got TJ Bullard coming back, and some new faces coming in. Phil Picciotti, redshirt sophomore from Oklahoma, transfers in. We've got Kelly Lawson, 6'4", 223, played at Virginia Tech prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis Carter, a junior, transfers over from Oklahoma. He's originally from Tampa. Jaden McDonald is here from Virginia Tech as well. And then one of the names I think we may hear a lot of is one of my guys from the Garden State of New Jersey, went to Manasquan High School, attended Colgate before coming here, Cole Kozlowski. Now, if that's not a linebacker name, I don't know what is.
I mean, it definitely has the prerequisite ski that you would present in that position. You're not wrong. I'll say this about the linebacker core, and here's where I don't want to say worried, but it's something that I draw attention to. And first of all, it's not as if there are some linebackers that stand out in UCF history, right? Obviously, T. Plum, Shaquem. There are guys, right? But on the whole, other than perhaps defensive end historically, linebackers are relatively thin. And there's what I'm counting. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 that are 230 or above. Now, granted, getting a guy that's 240, 250 that can move the way you have to handle Big 12 offenses as a defensive player like a linebacker don't grow on trees. I understand that. But this is something I talked with Coach Mike D'Onofrio about on Coach's Media Day that you can find on the KnightShift podcast or KnightShift YouTube channel, rather. And that's to say that I brought up the late great Dick Butkus in that a linebacker's job is to bring punishment. And can this group do that, right? The first transition into the power conference, a safety, Nakai Martinez, had to keep coming up to make tackles as a safety on huge running backs because linebackers were getting worked. And Gus's piece of part of why the defense failed last year, in my opinion, came from the desperate swing to alleviate that by bringing in the Ted Roof experiment that failed ultimately, right? So Coach D'Onofrio's goal is to move this group to be that powerful group it needs to be to compete in the power conferences.
Last year, UCF was 37th in the country in total defense allowed. Not bad. That was on the strength of the rush defense, 29th. All right, 120 yards per game. That was pretty good. Where they struggled was in two key spots. Obviously, you can probably guess. Passing efficiency, 86th. All right. So teams were getting big plays on UCF. And then the other part, you talk about big plays, third down conversion percentage defense, 96th in the country, giving up 43%. So when I see that, I look at, all right, the secondary needed work.
Correct.
Right? Pass rush, secondary. Okay. So looking at who's coming back in the secondary, a few key guys, the Henderson twins are back. Braden Marshall is back. Nicholas Antoine is back. But you have there are a couple of spots where you got some new guys who had to come in. Antoine Jackson, I think, is really interesting. He comes over from East Carolina. What's the storyline with these guys? What do they need to do to get UCF to where they can compete once again?
I mean, it's very simple to do. It's very simple a concept, but difficult to do in the Big 12, right? There's a number of podcasts I go on talking football in general. Jeff, you know this as a guest, especially representing us here at the KnightShift podcast and the Black and Gold Banneret. But one of the things I say when I talk any sort of betting and gaming in college football is there are 3 certainties in life: death, Taxes, bet the over in the Big 12. So now the reason for that is for high flying offenses. And listen, TCU's receivers last year, as well as Iowa State's, I might add, had a pair of NFL caliber dudes. Eric Lopez would believe that they're everywhere in the Big 12. Not necessarily true, but more true in this conference than a lot of others at the receiver position. And they're doing it without beating up on, let's just say, the weak schedule you would expect from the Big 10 or the ACC. So that's right. I'm saying the Big 12 is overlooked and is harder than you think, folks. But all that to say the key to it, and I think it's a complete package. You mentioned the running numbers for the linebackers being relatively good. I think it's less UCF's ability to control the run and more the Big 12 choosing not to your point. Okay. Because of the lack of a pass rush, which we touched on earlier with the new edge group and all that, or the veterans and some of the new edge group, right? So that being said, if that gets shored up, these linebackers will be challenged again. And a lot of the reason for the solid passing and all of that is linebackers having to try to help and fill and deal with that. And that just didn't happen. By the way, tight ends in the Big 12, not exactly horrible at their jobs.
Yeah. That takes us over to the specialists, where it is a whole new set of circumstances. Yeah. Right now, special teams looks like this. You got Anthony Veneri, who's the current listed punter on the roster, originally from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, transferred over, went to St. Thomas More, transferred over from Ohio State, also was previously at Buffalo. And then over at the on the kicker side, now there are a few kicker / punters on the roster: Mason Denenberg, Noah McGow, but the guy who's ostensibly the favorite to win the kicking job is Noe Ruelas. He's a redshirt senior, comes over from UConn, kicked at James Madison, 6'1", 197. Comes in highly touted as a kicker from everything that I've seen about him from before. Sure.
Coming from a pair of soccer schools, no doubt.
Well, I mean, he started at UConn and James Madison last year was 16 of 20 on field goals, 35 of 37 on extra points. When you're replacing a guy like, and you had Colton Boomer back there, who was a cult hero, basically, do you get the job done? Now, Noe does kind of remind me of the last guy who kicked under Scott Frost, Matthew Wright.
Fascinating.
In that he's not really touted as like a big leg guy, but he gets the job done. Also, he had an interesting little footnote. Remember that game against North Carolina?
Footnotes for a kicker? Really, Jeff Sharon?
Thank you.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know. Actually had nothing to do with his feet. Remember that game against North Carolina where James Madison upset them 70-50?
Okay. I do now that you said it, yes.
He converted a pass to Jake Mowry, the long snapper, for a 2-point conversion.
Oh, I do remember that now. Yeah. Yes. That was fun.
It's great. His career long's 52. Like I said, I mean, this is a guy with experience. And we've played our share of close games here and there. I mean, you gotta have a good kicking game here. And
of course,
missing Boomer and Grant Reddick. Missing, Mitch McCarthy. Mitch McCarthy actually had a very good season last year, by all accounts. That kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit, but sure. I have high hopes here on this side. You guys know me. I love my kickers.
Punters are people too, Jeff Sharon.
That's and correct. Kickers are people too, right? That's right. I will say that the kicker that you have over in Jacksonville just set a world record for the longest field goal at any level, in any form of competition, from 70 yards.
Understand, Jeff Sharon, that I was producing the Bolt Blitz. I did use the bell for me because it was my show. And the work from the Duval dive came up because of Cam Little. There you go. That's not something you get every day. But yeah, no, I've been touting Cam Little for a while. I say all that to say this. You mentioned all these acquisitions, and they are intriguing as you mentioned them. But I really think the big piece we're not talking about and our very own Bryson Turner would be incredibly ticked at you about it, for all the times he pounded the table that this team needed a coach devoted to special teams. Cue Pete Alomar, who will be a big piece here to not only develop special teams, but players on other parts of the field as they work to get their spots and reps in by working hard in special teams as they fight in the real estate game, as he talks about it. By the way, check out that stuff. Anything Pete Alomar on the Night Shift YouTube channel is a big deal.
I will say last year, UCF, we talked about this a couple times, 114th in the country in kickoff returns.
Yeah. Not great, Bob.
Great. That's got to improve. And the hope is that it will improve overall. So bottom line, here we are. Here we stand on Monday, August 11th. 17 days to go before the season. This is my last question to you, Kyle Nash. Will we have the bulk of this set on opening night against Jacksonville State, who, by the way, is an FBS school now, ladies and gentlemen? Or do you think it's going to take the first 2, I don't know, maybe 3 games with that North Carolina game with Bill Belichick coming into town before we really have everything solidified?
Yeah, and minus the random injuries and Notre Dame transfers, I do get the feel of that 18, 19-ish season where we ended up seeing a young Dylan Gabriel emerge to steal the job, which some of us warned you there on the Black and Gold Banneret with coverage of, I know I snuck that one in, that's my bad. Thank you, sir. With the prediction from the spring game that he had a shot. Now, since we don't have spring games anymore, I haven't had that point of view on this group. But from what I've seen in what practices I went to over the summer, none of them really emerged. Somehow or another, there's murmurings that Jakari Brown is the favorite, which is fascinating, but we'll see what happens. We really don't know anything. And I think the real, whether you like it or not, these are the guys moment is going to be, like you said, in that North Carolina game. All
right. Well, opening night, August 28th, 7 p.m. against Jacksonville State. Gamecocks at home, and then North Carolina A&T on September 6th at 7 p.m. And that's prior to, and then a week off, Kyle Nash, and then September 20th, that first big conference game, not a Big 12 game, but a big conference game, P4 game against North Carolina and Bill Belichick on September 20th. So, this thing is happening real quick. What we want to do is remind you before we go, make sure you hit up blackandgoldbanneret.com, the all new blackandgoldbanneret.com, where we are posting our position previews. You got a little hint of them here on this podcast. You're going to get them all in depth all throughout this week into the beginning of next week. And then next week, Kyle Nash, we're going to have our top 5 questions about UCF football leading into the season. And then our game day coverage starts right after that. It's going to be busy. So make sure you follow us right here on Night Shift UCF on YouTube. That's our YouTube channel. Make sure you also follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com, the place for UCF sports on the interwebs. And check out our brand new feed.
Yes, the feed. Check out the feed. Correct.
Because we're going to be directing you guys to a lot of that stuff as well. We still are on socials, on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, as well as X and Blue Sky. And check out what we've got. By the way, latest thing on the feed, highlights from RJ Harvey's preseason debut at San Francisco. I've been hard at work trying to get that thing boosted. So, it's going to be, there's the new car smell is back. We got a new website. We got a new feature on the website with the threads. We got 3 new interns coming in who are going to help us out as well. Really excited about the talent that we're bringing in to help us out. We also have, new head football coach, new head volleyball coach at UCF. There's just a lot of new that's happening up in here. And I'm excited about it. This is one of the things that I've been really excited about, like coming in. I knew that I couldn't tell anybody what all the changes are going to be until they dropped, and we finally drop it, and we're like, okay, it's going to be good. And our game day coverage with you And Don Strouble is going to be amazing. I know it is, Kyle. It's going to be
yes. Fun. Donnie Ducks will be in the press box with me that Thursday, August 28th. Correct.
All right. So for all of us here,
don't forget. I'm sorry, Jeff. Don't even forget Night Shift Live coming back there too for your post game instant reaction right after the game, and me direct from the press conference
on our brand new, the all new blackandgoldbanneret.com. Kyle, thank you so much appreciate you as always. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate Don. Happy birthday, Don.
Donnie Ducks,
who would have joined us today, but is out having a well-deserved good time. Huge thanks to everybody for all of us here at Black and Gold Banneret and all you guys for the help we've had getting through this offseason. And you can smell it now, right? 17 days away. Shout out to Eric Lopez. Shout out to Bryson Turner, who's also got some new stuff in his pipeline. Make sure you check him out as well. And yeah, let's get it on. Here we go. For all of us here at Black and Gold Banneret and Night Shift, for the student of the game, Kyle Nash, I'm Jeff Sharon. Go Knights, charge on. We'll see you next week.